Okay. So when we discuss about digital divide, it actually, we see that it gained attention across the world during 1990s. The term has been used for the first time by Larry Irving Jr. He was a former US uh, Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Telecommunication and Communication, who coined this term while trying to find out gap or differences between people and communities in accessing information through communication technologies. Okay, so while finding this gap, he found that there are people who could not afford to, like, buy this technology. They could not afford to purchase this technology, and he uh, uh, he said that this has been a major reason for even further, aggravated disparity in society. So when we discuss about digital divide, so we see that that term gained prominence during 1990s, and along with this, we could also see that it is this divide is basically related to inequalities in access and distribution and use of information and communication technologies among populations, between individuals, between households, and also between businesses. And also you see that among and between and among geographic areas, uh, in regard to opportunities regarding accessing the content and accessing the information online. So when I discuss about digital divide, there is a clear line definition which has been provided by Easy Wilson. And today in my discussion, I'll include his specification of digital divide. So he said that digital divide is basically inequality in access through communication technologies, regarding the opportunities, regarding the resources, among communities, among geographic areas, in regard to use of that communication technologies. So you see that government nowadays have taken different schemes to people, but it will not breach digital divide, like free distribution of mobile phone. Government has taken a scheme to distribute free mobile phone, to distribute free tablet, right? It will not provide it will provide a ready-made solution to bridge digital divide, but it is not a long-term solution to bridge digital divide. We also cannot say that we don't need government intervention to bridge digital divide. It is quite important that we need government intervention to bridge digital divide. And to a certain extent, we will discuss about the kind of intervention that government can provide. And it is quite important, the kind of intervention and how it is related, intervention that government can provide, and how it is related to socio-economic and cultural needs of the community. Now, those Easy Wilson's division of digital divide, which I would like to share with you. I have a PowerPoint also, but quickly I'll mention about those 8 dimensions of digital divide. So first is physical access. Okay, let me tell you, before we discuss about correlation between digital divide and access, we need to know what is access. Access to information and communication, what is that? So when you say access, access is basically related to supply of physical artifacts, supply of information and communication conduits, in such a way that it will meet the needs of the intended beneficiaries. So when you are talking about access, access is related to unbounded supply of those physical artifacts and make it obtainable to targeted beneficiaries. So you will provide information and communication technologies to your targeted beneficiaries, so their physical access need will be made. So digital divide, when we discuss about digital divide, is associated with access. How it is associated with access? It is said that if you make all these physical artifacts, physical infrastructures available and make it obtainable to people, to those who are in need of those technology, to the intended beneficiaries of those technologies, digital divide could be bridged. Now, divide is basically inequities, right? Gap between individuals, between households, between business and geographic areas in regard to the opportunities related to information and communication technologies. And how to bridge that device? You make physical artifact and communication technologies or infrastructure available to those intended beneficiaries. So this is what is highly one-dimensional perspective of relating digital divide with access. Are you getting me? So when you are talking about digital divide, access is also related, access to information and communication technologies. And let me tell you that only talking about physical access is will give you only one-dimensional understanding of digital divide. So when you are talking about access, access doesn't simply denote having or not having an internet connection, owning or not owning a mobile phone or a PC. So access can be related to a rainbow, that is called access rainbow concept. So it involves different niceties, different niceties in the sense access involve core access, marginal access, peripheral access, to what extent you have actually access to those technologies and how far you have made you have made the meaningful use of that technology once you got access to that technology. So access is also related to use. So when I talk about digital divide can be bridged to provide unbounded supply of physical artifact, make it accessible and obtainable to intended beneficiaries, make television set, make radio, make internet, make mobile phone, and all other, you see, available communication technologies, information and communication technologies available to the masses and intended beneficiaries, and you can reach digital divide. This is what is one dimension. Second is that financial access, which is quite important. You see, affordability to own a mobile phone at times seems to be a barrier to access digital technologies. So not all the people can afford to buy a latest version of PC, a mobile phone. Now mobile phone is cheaper, people can buy, and it has got a gloss appeal, which usually appeal people, and people can buy, and even the poor and marginalized section also, they are quite interested to buy a mobile phone, and price has also dropped down. But you see, they cannot buy a smartphone. They are quite interested, but they cannot buy a smartphone. But while using that smartphone, has also wait, I'm coming. So when you're talking about financial access, this actually refers to this affordability to purchase a mobile phone, and that also often tend to be a barrier to access communication technologies. According to Easy Wilson, we have another dimension of access that is called cognitive access. Now, you can relate that cognitive access with your psychological stress factor, with your skill and competence to use a technology. How skillful you are to use a technology, whether you are motivated enough to use a latest technology or not, whether you have accepted that technology or not. I have seen in one class, Joya ma'am has discussed about diffusion of innovation. So how innovation make a way into your life. So innovation to decision, there are certain factors from innovation to decision which will always save to create an acceptance of any innovation. It is regarding to the product, regarding to the price factor, regarding to any latest, seeds, latest, technology, to to take a decision. So innovation to decision involves certain step, and in between you could also see that there are factors like uncertainty reduction that is also involved. So you need to reduce uncertainty among the people to accept an innovation. So here, when we are discussing about the cognitive access to technology, which tend to be a barrier, and it is also tend to be a important stimulator to provide you a solution to bridge the digital divide. When you are talking about cognitive access, that means the skills of those intended beneficiaries or a targeted group, which will, let me tell you, which will like to make use of the technology, their motivation, their behavioral intention to use one particular technology, and their acceptance, level of acceptance to one particular technology, and also the kind of psychological anxiety, technological phobia, risk factor, which are also associated with this technology, which will define the cognitive access dimension of digital divide. So you see, apart from skill and competences, you also have the self-image, self-concept of the intended beneficiaries will define the cognitive access to digital divide. Then we have another dimension of access, and that is called content access. So when we say content access, let me tell you that language itself is a greatest repository of, say, content, and as well as our culture, our norms, values. So any barriers related to language and literacy can be a point to, differentiate our access to technology. So we can access technology, but many a time we cannot access content of the technology. So owning a mobile phone doesn't mean that you can actually use the services which are available in the mobile phone, and also you can write a message, or you can write an email. So when you're talking about a content has its own specificities. So it is related to language dimension. And here, what is important, I'll let you know, is about literacy. Let me tell you that ICT and literacy, these are two different, I'll say, paradigm, but at the same time, we'll see this ICT and literacy has got some similarities also, because literacy is not one-dimensional. Literacy is multidimensional. At the same time, ICT is also multidimensional. When you are talking to talking about information and communication technologies are also multidimensional. It is not one-dimensional. So access to information and communication technologies will require, let me tell you, social support, it will require education, it will require literacy, it will require social support, political willingness, and power. So you see, so many different perspectives are associated with using a computer, or accessing a computer, accessing an internet connection, or accessing any ICT device. At the same time, when we are talking about literacy, literacy is also a multidimensional concept. In this very class, we can also talk about digital media literacy, right? So how far you are digitally literate? Can you define this? How far you are digitally literate? Digital media literacy involves informational literacy. Digital media literacy will involve multimedia literacy. It will also involve computer-mediated communication literacy. Right. So when you are talking about content access, content is associated with the language, content is associated with the literacy divide, which is further related to ICT access. So when you are talking about literacy, let me tell you that it also needs social support, and you see that different types of literacy which will fall into this bigger continuum of literacy is quite important even to access to ICT. So if I give some recommendation or implication regarding uh, as a solution to bridge the digital divide, so definitely I will say that it is quite important to design and devise multiple literacy module which will combine computer mediated literacy, which is associated with writing, specifically, like, getting that adept and mastery over writing via computer mediated platforms, as well as you say having a netiquette. That is also a part of computer mediated literacy. So having gained a kind of netiquette and polite attitude while communicating online. So these two are important dimensions regarding computer mediated communication. Then also you have another, like, literacy, that is called information literacy, which is quite important and which is also related to content access. So when you say information literacy, what is important for you is to find out, do you actually know how to frame a question properly? That is related to information literacy. Let me tell you that information literacy is different from critical literacy. When we are talking about critical literacy, it basically refers to, if you know how to evaluate and analyze the available information which are presented before you, that is a part of critical literacy. I will also give you one example regarding the website analysis. So that assignment I have already given to a student of previous years. This time I haven't given you that assignment. So as part this assignment, like, what you are supposed to do is to evaluate various websites, design element you are supposed to evaluate, content element you are supposed to evaluate. So the basic presentation you are supposed to evaluate, what is being omitted from that website, whether all the information are necessarily put in place in the website or not. So everything is a part of not only information literacy but also of critical media literacy. So those skills, critically evaluate the information which are being presented, is also a part of, you see, content access. At the same time, you also need to know the use of appropriate search tool while you uh, like, search or seek out any relevant information. So this is also a part of information literacy, whether you know whether you have got the right queries in your search or not, how to determine what are the relevant information. So these are part of information literacy. At the same time, when you are talking about multimedia literacy is basically related to understanding the natural sign involved in, you say, audiovisual images, which usually shift very rapidly in front of you. So it involves natural sign, and you see that's what makes it distinct from print media. When you are talking about print, we are talking about, like, a book or newspaper. Newspaper usually restrict the natural, you say, sign symbol. It doesn't have that natural sign, but audio visual has that natural sign. It will give you a different perspective to evaluate a situation. So when we are talking about multimedia literacy, whether you can analyze those natural signs involved in audio visuals or not, that is quite important. Then you have got to find another form of literacy, that is called, one is computer mediated literacy, information literacy. Then you have got multimedia literacy, and you also see that everything comprises digital media literacy, uh, and also basic knowledge about search tool, basic knowledge about browser. So this comprise digital media literacy, and also one thing that is called knowledge about community informatics. So when you are talking about community informatics, that are some technology which is used in a community to empower one community. So you can actually talk about different ICTs, information and communication technologies, when it is used in one particular community in order to empower the whole community, in order to bring socio-economic development of the whole community. So knowledge about those technology is also quite important, and all these are part of content access. So when you are talking about content access is important from language point of view. It is important from literacy point of view. So any barrier to language will always uh, create difficulty to access the content from the website, even which are based and which are usually flow in a mobile phone or any kind of technological artifacts. That is important parameter of access. Then we see one more thing is that websites, most of the websites are available in English. Around 60-80% of websites are available in English, where only 6 to 10% people are English literate. So English has been a global language now. But at the same time, what I recommend in this aspect as a solution to bridge the digital divide is that you need to come up with some, uh, uh, more, software related to vernacular language, where you can get to incorporate an interface of iconic and symbolic type. So where there are more icons and symbols, which would make the user experience of rural people richer. So they can actually get to see the icon, and they can understand, okay, this denotes this. If they get to see a leaves and all, this denotes something related to some product. So that's a kind of interface, symbolic and iconic interface, along which more and more user vernacular language can bridge the content divide, right? So these are important parameters. So we have discussed about physical access, we have discussed about financial access, we have discussed about cognitive access, we have discussed about content access. And then design access is also quite important. In one class, I have discussed about the interactivity. So when we are talking about design access, it is quite important to understand that most of the women and even rural folk and local people are not part of this uh, design process of mobile phone. They do not take part in designing a interface. They are not even allowed to sit and participate, and their views are not even encouraged, and views are not taken most often when we design a any kind of interface or even a website or a technology. So so in terms of design, hence we have seen that the ease of access is usually a factor which create a barrier to access to barrier to create an equality in terms of access to technologies. So when we say that uh, design is very crucial part of access, you see, you always give more importance to ease of use and usefulness of one particular design. So when it is very important, when will you accept a technology? So you will accept a technology when there is ease of use, when it is easy to use. You will accept a technology when it is easy to, you see, use, and there is utility in use. So when we are talking about design access, there is also an interactivity, let me tell you, that in terms of user and user and device. And hence we can relate design access with a unrestricted interactivity between the user and device. Then we have another access that is called production access. In terms of, you see, production access, not many women folk are also uh, joined and participated in the production process of any technology. So that's a different part altogether, but it is also related to, the support system, social support system, related to social influence, and there some indoctrination in the patriarchal society, which always act as a, you say, hurdles to let women come and join in the production. So that is also one very important factor to create the digital, I'll say, to bridge the digital divide. Then you have institutional access and political access. When I talk about institutional access, it is quite important, which will help you to participate in a community, which will also encourage cooperation. So it is possible through a social support network, which you get to see in your family, which you get to see in your immediate peer network, which you will also get to see in your neighborhood. So when you are talking about institutional access, so you get to strengthen the social network, and you get to strengthen the social support network, which is very important for increasing this, you say, this institutional access. Um, and at the same time, you see, in a family, head of the decision, usually head also, like head used to take all the decision, right? Head of the family, he is the opinion leader in the family, and everything he takes befalls on all the members of the family, right? So he is the institutional head. So in different institutions, so you will also like get to see some norms, and that will also bind different decisions. So, and that will create a kind of willingness or even motivation among uh, the targeted beneficiaries to develop that inclination towards a technology. Then we have this political access. Political access is related to political willingness, which is quite important, which will help you to cooperate as also empower individually. So these are the access, different dimension of access: physical access, financial access, then content access, cognitive access, design access, political access, and institutional access, which help you to understand the barriers related to achieve an equity in terms of digital technologies, and also help you to find out what are the region because and factors because of which we could not able to bridge the digital divide. uh, okay, so so any question from your end? Okay, one thing I would like to share with you that I have invited Arul Selvan. Arul Selvan happened to be a faculty from this department. Before I joined this department, he has shifted to IGNOU, and he is an expert and expert in this particular field, new media, and he specialized in new media. So he's going to take some lectures on 18th and 19th. I have already fixed a date and he has also consented. So he will come and deliver lectures from 3 to 4 p.m. on 18th and 19th. And specifically, he will cover the CMC, computer mediated communication. He will also discuss about, digital inequalities. So as he has said, and also about social movements and activism. Okay. Do you have anything to say? There is also PowerPoint.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I didn't understand the cognitive access. So can you just a little bit again?
So cognitive access is related to various cognitive barriers. So what can be the barriers to understand a particular technology? First, you see, biggest barrier is your anxiety and technological phobia towards accessing a particular technology and about a technology, the kind of idea about a technology you have. If you see that technology is something a very mammoth giant um, a toy, and you hesitate to use that technology, that will create a barrier to access one particular technology. So here today we are going I have focused on access and try to relate it with digital divide. So when we are talking about access is quite important. So access is not about having physical having a supply of physical artifacts or having supply of technologies. If I own a mobile phone, okay, I have access to that mobile phone. If I own a computer, I have access to that computer. But if I don't know how to operate it, okay, if I don't know how to manipulate the interface, if I don't know how to you say um, if I don't know some nitty-gritties which are involved in one particular technologies, so that will create a barrier to access this technology. So cognitive access is related to certain barriers which will hinder to access the technology. This is one aspect. Another aspect is your motivation, your level of motivations, your level of skills, your level of accommodation to a particular technology. Can you accommodate that particular technology? Are you motivated to use that technology? So your level of motivations, whether you are skillful enough, have you got some training to access to one particular technology and use that particular technology? So while we are discussing about this digital divide, digital technology, divide and technology, cognitive access is quite important. because it is related to the motivation, it is related to other factors, social influence, that is also part of cognitive excess at times. So you also see that nowadays we are talking about accessibility factors even in terms of websites. So in websites, you see most of the websites are supposed to follow the guidelines of web content accessibility guidelines. They're supposed to follow that guideline, content accessibility guidelines, and as per that guidelines, whatever content are available in a website is supposed to, let me tell you, meet the requirement of those who are visually impaired, meet the requirement of those who are mobility impaired, who cannot even walk and have to sit in one place, who are colorblind, who have cognitive impaired, cannot understand the content properly. And there is also some problem related to, you say, understanding the language, interpreting the language, that is related to semantic barriers related to language. So what I speak is different from what you speak. So in that case, how to make that website user friendly, how to make that website accessible to all, some guidelines are being uh, binding upon on all the web communities, or like all the web communities, as well as those who want to design a website at institutional level, not like at individual level. So when you're talking about cognitive excess is basically about your capacity of using a technology, your capabilities of using a technology, level of motivation, how we accommodate the technology, your perceived ease of use of that technology, usefulness of that technology, risk, anxiety related to that technology. So that's it. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Wait. This is step one. I'll share this. Okay. Here basically. So these are the aspects of excess that could lead to digital divide. Can you see the screen? Can you see it?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
You can see it, no? Okay. Okay, design access, content access, then production, institutional, and political access. So these are the 8 aspects of access which could lead to digital divide. As I have already told you, one is physical access. All of you understood about physical access, right? It is about supply of physical artifacts to individual community. So making information and communication technologies available to the communities, right? Then financial access, making information and communication technologies affordable to the communities. Cognitive access, skill, competencies, motivation, and fear, anxiety related to access to one particular technology. Then you have design access. When you are talking about design access is basically related to, as you say, ease of use of the design, and also the device to user interactivity of the design, whether people are engaged in the design, also in the designing process to incorporate their idea and make it user friendly or not. So you get to find that women and even most of the, you see, so-called marginalized people, and whom we usually make various development promised, are not involved. They are not made involved into this design process of one particular technology. And content access is related to literature and language. So literacy and language, when you're talking about literacy, so there are different types of literacy which is required to access a content. So You see, having literature in literacy like in English or education in English is very important to access content, because there are not many vernacular websites available on net, right? At the same time, multiple literacy skill is quite important to access content. So this multiple literacy involve this multimedia literacy, computer mediated literacy, information literacy to access content. Okay, then production access is that can you able to take part in the production, to even cooperate further and also facilitate in like design the content or produce the content. So it is usually not happen. So that becomes a barrier in terms of like achieving digital you say equities. Then you have institutional access. Institutional access, you see, government has already taken various steps to integrate ICT with these institutions, integrate it with the institutions and to create some reform. So we could actually see that it has already led to some political willingness to accept ICT, use ICT, and also that proliferate ICT among the communities. But when you are talking about institutional access, it is not limited to like all the public access conduit. So when you are talking about public access conduit, it is actually known by different terms. You have kiosks, you have the cyber cafe, you have telecenters, you have this called community information center. So what is important here in this regard is the management of those you say community information center, or management of those like institutional apparatus, and location of that apparatus, who manage those apparatus. So whether it is managed by individual, managed by a network of franchisees, it is managed by government, it is managed by private sectors, and it is managed by municipalities. So who manage those institutions, and the kind of access it has provided to you. At the same time, you see, in terms of public access conduits, what is important is the location, whether it is located in rural area or located in urban area. And also, while we look at the location, so it is also important to find out various difficulties associated with this, like locational difficulties are there in rural areas. If like public this center and information center is placed, then kind of problem which might crop up due to the location. So there might be bandwidth issues. It usually happen. Bandwidth issues is usually happen, which is also related to political access, lack of political willingness. So when you are talking about political access, you see that most of the time what happened is village lords of the village. You see this Gaon Budha and all, and those who usually take the decision of the development of the village, they don't give even a permission for for taking any development decisions to anyone who want to initiate a change. So they are quite like resistant. So they resist change. They don't want to adopt that innovation, any new kind of innovation. They don't want to adopt, be it related to policy, related to technology, related to product. So that willingness is always less. So the permission related to, you say, you want actually permission, various, you say, corporations and even these private bodies need permission to get the land titles clear in order to install base transceiver stations in terms of telecommunications. But there is difficulty in getting the permission from village lots. So in order to lay the optical fiber cable also you need permission. That is right of way permission. But village law don't give that permission. So there is also lack of political will and political access has become a issue which will create a barrier to various initiatives which are being taken to bridge the digital divide. Okay, then as I have already told you, these are some points. Okay. Mhm. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Anything else from your side? Any question? Have you gone through the chapters of the book? Hello.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, I personally did not read the book, but I have gone through all your lecture videos till now.
Okay. Okay, good. But I want you to go through the book, and that book will help you to understand whatever I have discussed in class, as well as in the videos. I could not able to take many class. And you know that book is quite simple, language-wise, it's very simple. I don't think that it will give you a different perspective altogether, but it will help you to simplify the whole web. Hence, I want you to go through the book, all the chapters, at least you touch all the chapters, have some understanding, take some understanding from the chapters. So give a sneak peek and I will take a separate class where I will address your question. So I want you to come up with questions. And tomorrow or day after tomorrow, you say, and tomorrow also at one point of time, I'll not take any class. I'll not, this is not likely that I'll simply go monologue and keep on speaking. So I'll take questions from your end and I'll tell you, what to do, what not to do. And I don't think that you have a problem regarding understanding any lectures, right? You are okay with the PowerPoint, whatever I have distributed, the
Yes,
PowerPoint
ma'am.
content. You're okay, right? So, okay.
Ma'am, about tomorrow, what is the time that you will take class?
Tomorrow, can I make it by 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock? Because tomorrow is Saraswati Puja, right?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
sorry, I am having some glitches. Anyway, ma'am, can we do the class by the evening,
Evening,
not
yeah.
during the day?
Evening will be fine. By 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, it will be fine. Because
Later half of the evening, then?
later half, yeah, 3 o'clock, it will be fine. By 3 o'clock also,
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
you can assemble and you can take the class by 3 o'clock. Or 4 o'clock, if you say 4 o'clock will be the convenient time, that is okay for me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay? Yeah.
Ma'am, can you
Yeah,
put this PPT in classroom or WhatsApp group?
yeah, I can. Actually, I have recorded this video. I have a recorded video lectures on digital divide and access, but I could not find that. That's why I could not distribute that in the class. But I will distribute this recorded class. So I'll post this recorded class as well as the PPT also I'll post.
Okay, ma'am, thank you.
Then, okay. Are you interested in web designing, to learn a bit of web designing? So basically it is, let me tell you, it's quite difficult to teach you web designing. And in the very first semester, this time it is decided that we will not pursue any class on web designing. So I'm keeping it, we are keeping it for fourth semester. But basic idea about web is quite important. Because we have already discussed about interactivity and different types of interactivity. We have discussed about content access, design access, production access. So it is related to type of website which we often visit, and also the design element of the website. It is quite important to evaluate the website. So this is a part of information literacy and part of critical literacy. So I want you to understand the basic facts of web design, which will help you to understand different interactive elements of web design, help you to analyze various content which are available in one particular website, and also help you to understand the web campaign, which is quite important. Because basically we study these websites to understand web campaign, new media campaign. So if you're interested, I will share a PPT. Where is it? Okay. Okay, I will do one thing. I'll post this PPT today itself in the group. So you go through that PPT, and you also let me know about difficulties and what you have understood after you go through the PPTs. There will not be any recorded lectures. Simply the PPT PowerPoint slides will be there. So you go through that and you let me know the difficulties arise on your part and what have you understood. Okay, so tomorrow we'll assemble by 4 o'clock, and I'll address your queries. Particularly, I'll address your queries tomorrow. So come up with issues and difficulties, whatever. So you have come across with video lectures, with those chapters, which I have already replicated in the class, chapters of the book. So I will deal with that in the class. Okay, it's fine.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
then.
ma'am.
Okay, then we'll disperse now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.